Well, to discuss the latest developments in the Gambia, we're now joined on the line by Stephane Walters. She's a researcher at the Institute for Security Studies in Pretoria, South Africa. Good afternoon, Stephane. Welcome once again to the SABC News Desk.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much.
Barrow back in Banjul, the beginning of a new chapter in Gambia. How hopeful can Gambians be of a continued smooth transition of power here, Stephane?
Well, I think that to some extent the first part of the worst part is over. In other words, having actually had Jammeh leave the country, having the new elected and inaugurated president return to Gambia, those are all very, very important milestones in Gambia's more positive political development. Having said that, Adama Barrow inherits a country with an economy that's not terribly functional. We have heard reports that the previous government, in fact, looted quite a lot of the remaining money in the treasury. He also faces issues like having to unite the army around his command and having to create a new government, presumably with some of the old ministers and some new ministers. So he has a lot that lies ahead.
Stephane, pursuing Jammeh on various criminal charges and reversing some of the decisions he made, such as pulling out of the ICC, is Barrow, do you think he's likely to push through with this now? What's your take, considering that there are allegations that on his departure, and you've mentioned it, that Jammeh may have cleaned out the state coffers?
I think that probably Barrow will take a bit of time to address those issues. I mean, there are still people in Gambia who do support Jammeh. I think the more important elements of what have to happen now are rebuilding the country, are creating a sense of confidence in the future of the country. That said, of course, there was a lot of damage under Jammeh, many human rights violations, and those people who were victims of those human rights violations will want to seek justice. So there will be, I would imagine, an element of the work that will go towards the truth and reconciliation process. But Adama Barrow has, I think, more immediate concerns having to do with keeping the economy going, with being able to pay civil servants, and with creating a government of unity that will work for the country, and also with making sure that the army remains loyal to him.
What impact did the ECOWAS intervention and other international mediators have on the Gambian impasse? What could have been done differently, perhaps, and what lessons can we take from this moving forward?
Well, I think the ECOWAS intervention is really one of the best we've seen. It was a principled, decisive intervention by ECOWAS from the very beginning when Jammeh decided to repudiate the election results. They were very consistent in trying to mediate in that process. Ultimately, though, they put their money where their mouth was, did mobilize a regional military force which had already reached the Gambian border and very tangibly was an element of pressure on Jammeh. They combined that with mediation by ECOWAS as an organization and by key heads of state in the region. And I think that the concerted action and the elements that the tools that they used really are what led to this being, at the end of the day, a peaceful handover of power, if a delayed one.
Stephane Walters joining us from the Institute of Security Studies. Thank you so much for your time on the SABC News Desk.